Alright you guys, welcome back to another deck profile. Today we're going to be going over the new revamped Raticate list. This list used to be referred to as Sabrina's Kadabra because we kind of focused it on the flipping aspect of it and being able to attack for only one energy instead of having to charge up a stage 2 quote-unquote Raticate break over and over again, or the Super Fang on this Raticate over and over again. So we kind of switched it over to the more focused Raticate, and I think it's a good thing because this deck now has a little bit more direction. It's not as reliant on that 25% chance you miss. You're guaranteed to get the knockout, and it has a little bit more balance to it. I feel like you can go one of two ways. You can either go the Super Fang route and just keep doing that over and over again, but you also can pivot to Shadowy Bite to take prizes, Enhanced Fang to take prizes, and you even have a little bit of spread with Tapu Koko, and then Poison Damage Area Dose. I think you get a little bit of it all here. Before I go too much into some of these choices, a quick note on this double Magma Energy up here you might be wondering about. That's actually a proxy for Counter Energy. Counter Energy is not on Lackey just yet, but it states if you are behind the non-EX or GX that it's attached to is a double rainbow, so it's very much just it's very much like the old double rainbow, but you have to be losing to use it. So, I'll go over the special energies at the end, but just so that you're not wondering the entire video what that double Magma Energy is, the counter energy. So, but if you didn't know, what Raticate Break does is it has this attack Super Fang. You put damage counters on your opponent's active until the remaining HP is 10, and then you can use stuff like Area Dose to poison it, Poison Barb, Rocky Helmet, or Hypnotoxic Laser to deal that extra 10 damage between turns and taking one-shots. That's the whole kind of point of the deck. You also can use this Raticate from Boundaries Crossed to charge up the attack. The only problem with this Raticate is that it requires the use of 3 energies. However, we have stuff like Boost Energy and Scramble Energy that we can use to charge up that attack in one swoop. So, originally, like I said, this deck was built as Sabrina's Kadabra, and the reason being is because we wanted to, not only was it we thought it was difficult to charge up these two Super Fangs over and over again because of the weird break mechanic and the 3 energy requirement here. But Sabrina's Kadabra was a lot easier because it was just a single psychic energy attachment, and there was other cards that did the same thing too, like an Unknown L that also had the flip ability. So if you struggle getting out that stage 1, you could still do it there. But we also play a 2-2-1 Raticate line. So this is just a little bit more streamlined. It's basically a lot more special energies to try to get this Raticate out with a little bit extra support into the special energy department. For example, the Celebi EX that we're starting to play more and more of. When you bench it, you can put a card from your discard on top of your deck. So when Boost Energy gets discarded, you can Celebi it back to the top of your deck and then clay it all into it, so that you can keep reusing Boost Energy over and over again. If you can get this Raticate, it'll be a little bit more consistent to get that constant Super Fang over and over again. But we add, instead of a 2-2-1 line, it's now a 3-3-1 line. We did add the 1-1 Alone in Raticate. Now you may be wondering, whoa, this is weird. Why are you playing Enhanced Fang? It has nothing to do with the deck. Well, I think Enhanced Fang is actually inherently just kind of busted. Because with a Muscle Band attached to it, it's dealing 80 damage, which is knocking out most every support Pokemon on your opponent's side of the field. You're knocking out Claydolls, you're knocking out Porygons, you're even knocking out Celebi EXs. If we start to play more of that against each other, we'll be using it just to take Celebi EX knockouts if they can't get off the field. So Enhanced Fang is inherently just a good attack. And now, because Grady and I are playing more and more Iris, Enhanced Fang becomes even better because you can go Muscle Band, Iris, Laser, Verbank, and just deal a crap load of damage for literally 0 energy. And I think that combo is just a little bit too busted to pass up on. So because we have this, we are playing a Raticate line anyways, might as well play the Alone in Raticate. So the Rattatas we chose to play, it's 2 free retreaters. This Alone in Rattata has got 40 in free retreat, and this Rattata has got 40 in free retreat. There are some with 30 in free retreat, but the Mischievous Fang is a really, really good ability as well, so that's the one we decided to play instead of those 30 in free retreats. 30 is just a bad number to have on bench Pokemon. They're going to get sniped way too easy by stuff like Kingdra. Stuff like Drawing Bank Crobat just drops it in one shot. I just can't think of some others off the top of my head, but that 30 damage is 40. The difference between 40 and 30 is actually pretty huge. So there's nothing to consider. That's why we're playing those. We still stick with the 2-2 Porygon line. We are playing Porygon Z here, and one of the reasons is if you miss a poison with Super Fang. So for instance, if they hexlock you, so you can't use Poisonous Nest or Poison Structure, and you just deal the minimum amount of damage. Like you miss your one and only Hypnotoxic Laser, that's the only way you can damage them between turns under Hexlock, right? Because these require your opponent. Poison Barb and Rocky Helmet require your opponent to knock into you. So if you don't deal the damage, you have the option of de-evolving them for knockout, or you can Flash Bite them for knockout. That's only if you're missing knockouts. You can also Flying Flip them for knockouts. So there is that to consider as well if you miss the Poisonous Nest. So with that in mind, it isn't necessary to get Poisonous Nest out constantly because you have other ways of knocking them out, especially with Hypnotoxic Laser. That combo was just a little bit too busted. So that's why we're playing Porygon Z, and Porygon Z is also just going into more and more of our decks as kind of a late game disruption. Being able to initialize and then end them late game is going to really win some games for you if you can lock them out of that. And then, like I said, the one Coco, we are playing a couple double ways. Like the DCE and the Upper Energy are really going to be the and counter. Can counter energy be involved for basic? I should actually check that real quick. But because we are playing these DCE reliant sort of attackers, it's really easy just to slip Coco into there. And like I said, if you miss the knockout, Coco can take it if it goes to the bench. So it's just something to consider in that regards. Give me 1 second here. No, and yeah, counter energy does work, sorry, on basics. So yeah, so you have 3 ways to attach. You have counter energy, upper energy, and double colorless energy that can go on this Tapu Koko to start being able to use Flying Flip and setting up knockouts that way. It also softens things up for Enhanced Fang, so that's why I like Coco, and it's a free retreater. So this is a deck that could use Double Gust. Like I said, I've been going back and forth on this whole Double Gust thing. I think if you were to add Double Gust, you'd also have to add Fluffy Berry, but most of your stuff has low retreat or free retreat anyways, so I think Double Gust is actually pretty dang good in this deck. I don't know what I would just get rid of. Maybe Training Center, but at the same time you need a couple extra stadiums so that Poison Structure can take effect, so kind of hard there. What Training Center does is it does the same thing. Like I said, if you miss the Poison knockout, or for some reason they have immunity to poison, you can Super Fang an evolved Pokemon or a Stage 1, Stage 2 Pokemon. They'll get that plus 30 from Training Center, and then if they ever bounce that Training Center, they get knocked out. So that's just one extra way you can knock out. It's the same sort of philosophy with Porygon Z there. So that does it for the Pokemon there. The supporters are fairly simple. The only things I want to talk about, like I said, the Iris. It may seem weird to have Iris in this deck because you're not actually dealing damage, you're placing damage counters. But I think Iris is now just too good of a card. Late game taking knockouts with setup, taking knockouts with Flying Flip, and like I said with Enhanced Fang, I think Iris is just a little bit too good, and any deck that actually does play energies and attacks, I think is played, so it's one of those cards that is just going to get more and more play. You might be questioning the Xerosic. The Xerosic is in there for the Shadowy Bite here. It's just an extra way to discard a special energy so that Shadowy Bite can take some one-shots. It's the same reason that Enhanced Hammer's in here instead of Lost Remover. Lost Remover is one of those cards that we are considering playing more and more of. Instead of an Enhanced Hammer if that is in the deck. But Shadowy Bite requires it to be in the discard pile, so Xerosic and Enhanced Hammer are in there for that. We also could consider playing a Flare Grunt so that you can use Crunch. Like if there's ever a time where you really need to, like, you go energy removal, a Flare Grunt Crunch, you can knock off 3 energies off their active with that. You can make some good plays with that, so that is something to consider as well, playing a Flare Grunt. And then one last thing I wanted to point out in the supporter department is we play both Oracle and Mallow. It's really hard to search out special energies. Really all that we have is like a computer search and that sort of thing. Basic energies can be searched with a slew of different things like Rosie's Research, Letter. If you ever need extra energy search, you can always get it in the form of other items and other supporters, whereas special energies, it kind of struggles. There's not very much out there. So playing an extra copy, quote unquote, of Oracle in the form of Mallow really helps you to find those energies more often. Bill is one of the only item ways to draw into it. We are playing Acrobike as well. Like Bill and Acrobike are your 2 ways to draw off the top of your deck, besides from the Busted, Oak, and Misty's Wrath. So if you're really, really concerned about not being able to draw that Oracle and that Mallow cards right away under Hexlock with Claydol, you could add in an Erica. I think that would be like the next best card to add in to get those cards right away. So that's something to consider as well. Let's see about items. I think the only thing that's really out of the ordinary, like I said, the Hypnotoxic Laser is used for the poison, but we do play a special charge in here because we're so special energy reliant. We do have the Devo Spray. I think 1 Devo Spray is needed in every deck that plays the Porygon Z just to get it back out so you can use backup or download again. I think that's about it here. Stadiums, we are playing a Broken Time Space. Verbank's kind of self-explanatory, so much poison damage. Training Center already described. Chaos Tower is that so that if you can't get the evolution off with Poisonous Nest, you still don't get poisoned. Generally speaking, you can be able to switch out of it, or escape rope out of it, or evolve out of it. Like, if you play your Poisonous Nests smartly, you won't be getting poisoned. Like, your own Pokemon won't be getting poisoned. You can definitely play that better. So if you're really worried about it, the cards that I would consider are Switch and Sparkling Robe. Those would be the two that I would actually like legitimately consider if you're so worried about your ability to be able to evolve correctly or promote correctly before and after using Poisonous Nest. So that's like a really long explanation on, I don't even know what I was talking about. Fuji's finding her way more into decks, especially with Celebi EX. I think it's the same sort of thing where Porygon Z, if you play Porygon Z, you have to play Devolution Spray. I think if you play Celebi EX, you now have to play Mr. Fuji. It's a little different with cards like Uxie and Lapras because Scoop Up is good enough. Playing a Scoop Up on those, being able to reuse their effects. But with Celebi EX, like, Scoop Up is good enough, but now you have so many like of these drop bench sitters, especially with Crobat now. So you're playing Uxie, Celebi, Crobat, and Lapras. I think bench base just becomes way more of a premium here. So I think Fuji is needed to go along with the Scoop Up and the Swoop Teleporter, just to make sure you can bench things when you need to. I think that's about it. Windstorm is a thing. You might be, yeah. I think this Rosic kind of doubles as a tool, and a tool removal if they have any sort of weird tools going on in their life. Outside of that, we're playing Grass Energies for Impound, and Impound only. I think it's more useful than Psychic Shields or Toxic Fang. I think those are the two psychics, and it's definitely more valuable than Hyper Fang or Will-O-the-Wisp. You could consider Lightning Energies if you really want Electric Ball, but I think that's just like never going to happen. Counter Energy does kind of help that out, actually. So if you did, actually, you know what? Let's think about this now. If you wanted to, you could play like a slew of basic energies here. Like, you could play 2 Psychics, 2 Lightnings, and 2 Grass, just because you have stuff like Scramble Energy, Counter Energy, Double Rainbow Energy to get those colorless attachments. So that is a consideration as well. You could just play Mirage, but I think Impound is probably the one you're going to be using the most. I think Electric Ball, maybe not. So like, you could consider like an extra Lightning or 2. If you do that, yeah, I think you're fine. If you switch that, you don't have to switch anything else. If you switch the basic energy lines up, you don't need to add like a letter or anything like that. Like, Rosie's is going to be enough. I don't think you need a Smeargle for that mirage of stuff. But anyways, that's Raticate. I think I've talked way too long on this deck. It's a deck you're kind of already familiar with if you know Sabrina's Kadabra. We just kind of changed some stuff up, make it a little bit more streamlined and a little bit more focused on the goal. Like I said, cards to add, I think Erica, Switch, those are 2 cards that I would consider right off the bat. Double Gust, like I said. So if you're considering any of those and you don't know what to drop, I can guide you a little bit, I guess. I think, maybe. But if not, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and we'll see you next time.